Welcome back to Got No Control podcast. I am your host, RONEK. And before I introduce my special guest today, I want to make some special announcements. Make sure to head over to gotnocontrol.com and check out our merchandise. Grab yourself a tee, a hoodie, and so much more. Also, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, 360 Spray Paint. 360 Spray Paint is a spray paint company that is distributed and manufactured out of Mexico, and they aim to offer high quality spray paint to all spray paint enthusiasts. So make sure to check them out at 360 California. And with that being said, I want to introduce my special guest today, Selcyis.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I appreciate you for inviting me. This is a great opportunity.
Always, brother, I want to thank you for giving us your first interview. I highly appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Respect, and let's get into this.
Let's do it.
So, I want to start today a little different. When we talk about graffiti, what has graffiti done for you as a person?
You know, graffiti definitely kind of helped me be a more mature man and make better decisions. It kind of gave me a better outlet as well with my design as a designer on my side career. But it definitely involved I evolved myself as being a better person and level-headed and learning to be more humble. Graffiti has really put me to the next level, I would say, from where I used to be when I was younger. It kind of opened my eyes a little more on branding, a little more on design, color schemes.
Nice.
It kind of just kind of opened my eyes a little more on colors and branding, I would say.
And when you're out there, painting and doing your thing, what do you think graffiti does for you inside you? Like, what do you think it does for you? Do you think there's is it kind of like therapy for you, or?
Yeah, definitely it is therapy. The best thing I do like about graffiti is having an end result within a short time frame.
Okay.
So it kind of gives me a challenge that I need to execute my typography or my letters within a short time period.
Okay. Nice. And what do you think opened up the very first door to start entering the graffiti realm for you?
You know, back in the old days, it was more about hip hop.
Okay.
So I was raised in the middle 90s. And at that time, it was very historic.
Okay.
BTP was coming up. We had Tupac that just launched his album. We had Big Time Magazine. We had just a lot of inspiration, but it was more about seeing it in the streets.
Okay.
So when I was younger, I did see, as driving to go see my grandma, let's say, or some family members driving down the freeway, I would see a lot of like Air, Ozzy, a lot of older cats, but a lot of good writers back then they're inspirators.
Okay, got you. And entering the graffiti world, right? Was this as a teenager or more as an adult?
It was more in my teenager age.
Okay.
I would say I was about 16 years old when I got introduced to hip hop. So it was something that I learned on the streets of where I lived. And it was nothing that I saw on TV. It was just the neighborhood and what was going on at the time.
Can we get a little bit into on what was going on in the time in that neighborhood that kind of led you to like, okay, I want to get down with graffiti?
Sure. So at that time frame, you had to pick and choose of who you're going to be. If you want to be a graffiti writer, a DJ, a MC, gang member, or just like a regular typical guy. So I decided to be a breakdancer at one point of time. And then I was like, oh, I'm kind of like, I'm not too into dancing, but I like it. So then I transitioned into graffiti.
Okay. Coming from that era, brother, when there was like breakdancing and the old school hip hop and stuff, how does that make you feel today when you hear like the new stuff that's on the radio now?
It's not the same. It isn't. Just from the language and the way that they come off with the beats. It's just back then it was more underground, I would say. They were using 4-track machines. It's not digitized as it is today. It had a little more love to it, or a lot more feel. But don't get me wrong, a lot of the newer hip hop these days is good, but it's a little more hyped and a little more jumpy than how it used to be within lyricals or lyrics.
Do you think it's fair to say that the hip hop back then, right, what kind of endorse graffiti rather than the hip hop today? Because it feels like the hip hop today on the radio doesn't really pay attention as much to graffiti like it was back then.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel like the hip hop today, they don't really carry on the entities within hip hop, which
Yeah.
is the four elements. So graffiti isn't really exposed much.
Okay.
So it does seem that hip hop is a little separated, but in reality, or not hip hop, but I would say more of the rap is more separated. But in reality, it should be within the one unity, which is
Gotcha.
graffiti, breakdancing, MCing, and DJing.
I totally agree. At a young age, right? You said 16, you entered the graffiti world. What were your very first steps that you took entering the graffiti world? Was it like coming up with a name first, or did you just go right at it and just start tagging?
Well, the way I got taught was basically practice, practice, practice. That makes, your letter structure a lot better. When you do come out, you'll have a plan of action. So I took the time of practicing a lot, um, from doing black book bombing to just drawing on regular paper.
Yeah.
But then I started hanging around with some older cats, and they were evolved, obviously, because they're older. And I would look at their art and go, dang, one day I want to be like that.
Yeah.
But I would spend a lot of time just trying to mimic my own style and trying to master a unique style so that when I do go out there and start painting, it's going to stand out
Be
than
different and
others.
original.
Yep, exactly.
Can you share a little bit about these writers, these older writers you were around, um, who they were and what they meant to you at the moment?
Sure. So there was a small circle at the time when I was younger.
Yeah.
One of them was drugs. He lived literally about, I would say, 2 blocks away from me. And then we had this one guy. I'm not sure where he came from,
Okay.
but he was like a hip hop guru. He definitely knew and taught, and he was like just like a motivator and ambassador to hip hop. But he came around and he started going giving people's names of like their personality.
Oh wow.
So I was one that was gifted with a name from this hip hop guru,
Yeah.
which his name is Wushu.
Wushu.
Wushu Kaboom. So he went around and he was teaching us hip hop. All right, this is how you break dance. Check this out. Here's a video of like me emceeing. So I got to actually learn from somebody that was who lived and breathed.
He was a purist.
Yeah, purist. Yeah, he lived hip hop to the morning he got up to the end of the day, and he definitely set the bar too
Okay.
with his style, which was very unique. And he would teach us, like, show us capoeira. We would go to Project Blow and hang out. I'm talking about, I was like 17 years old.
And what part of the city was this at?
This is in Anaheim.
Anaheim. Okay.
Anaheim. So he went around, kind of motivated us. He was the one who had the car, so he would pick us up. We would go bombing, and he would definitely he would show us like, oh, check this out. He was from a crew called BTP back then. So
Okay.
at that time, BTP was really coming up.
Okay.
They were a rising graffiti crew. They were definitely setting the bar as well for graffiti in that era, in
Yeah.
that time. So Wushu would actually introduce us to these different writers.
Oh, like, hey, this is my buddy here, and then you guys would just connect and start getting to know each other.
Exactly. So back then, I was like, let's say I was a little brother and he was the big brother. So he would go around and just kind of, take us under his wing and be like, all right, dog, let's go meet, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take you to the house. Don't say much, but just kick it.
And in Anaheim, as far as BTP, was there anything else around your surroundings that you were kind of seeing and be like, man, that's pretty cool right there?
Yeah, I used to see UNA, SSK. These are like really older 90 crews.
Okay.
They were, I would say, they were half like tagging, half hip hop. But at the 90s, it was a lot different.
Yeah.
You had to be thug in a way to live the streets,
Okay.
and to walk around freely without getting harassed. So a lot of UNA guys that would inspire me. I would see Dell. I would see Drugs a lot. I would see a lot of BTP crew members. And then also I would see like some of the LTS cats.
Okay. Being a teenager, getting into this culture and noticing these guys, right, that were around your surroundings in Anaheim, how was it for you meeting them for the first time and kind of I wouldn't say being accepted by them, but kind of being able to join the circle.
I was actually really grateful
Yeah.
because these guys were older than me. And
Okay.
so they looked at me like, who's this youngster?
Okay.
But I showed my pride of who I was, and I showed my inspiration and my motivation that I wanted to branch in their direction to become a better artist.
Okay. Coming from the era, brother, would you ever thought that graffiti would get to what it is today? Like it's all over social media. It's more accepted now. People use it for commercials and magazines or whatnot.
I actually, I didn't. I never thought that graffiti would be what it is today. Back then we didn't have much social media. It was more about walking the streets or driving down the freeway and
Yeah.
seeing this art. And for a minute, the law was really cracking down on graffiti. So
Yeah.
for a minute, I thought, okay, this is going to be more of a strategy hobby. You can't just go out there anymore and just walk down the street because you might get in trouble.
Okay.
So now that it's evolved, I think graffiti is more accepted these days. A lot of people are wanting to know the background behind graffiti and knowing that person, which I think is a great outlet for everyone to evolve.
Is it fair to say that back then, if you were to get caught by law enforcement painting graffiti, it would be more of an issue than what it is today?
Yes, most definitely. When
Okay.
I was younger, I did get pulled over by, actually not pulled over, but I was walking. Anaheim PD snagged me. Back then, I dressed like a tagger. I had my Ben Davises. I had my solo pants on. I had
Okay.
my markers in my pocket, some sketch. But back then, they snagged me one day, and they ripped me apart. They didn't
Oh
beat me up
wow.
or nothing, but they literally took my markers. They like put me to the ground. They're like, "You keep up with this, we're gonna go to your house and put you in prison." So it was
Wow.
shocking. I was like, "Dang, that's like, is this accepted?" But I guess back then it was power over law.
But it still didn't work because you kept pursuing the culture.
Yep, exactly,
Kept moving forward. Like I'm not giving up. Say what you want to say. I'm gonna keep going.
exactly.
And being from Anaheim, right? And LA being so dominant in the graffiti culture, right? Because they has so much going on over there. Did you ever not ever, but when you maneuver your way down to LA, was it a little difficult? Kind of like, hey, I'm from Anaheim and I'm in LA?
Yes, it was. Back then LA didn't accept Orange County.
Okay.
And I think it was just the differences of the different city. Orange County was more suburb
Yeah.
and more like beach related than LA. LA is more of an inner city lifestyle, more thug, I would say, a little more just kind of a tough city.
Okay.
So Orange County was definitely not accepted. You know, they looked down on writers from Orange County, but we had a secret weapon,
Okay.
and that weapon was we had train yards.
Oh, so it's like, hey man, we got something you could use.
Exactly, because LA is very congested. There's a lot of people,
Yeah.
so going into train yards in LA it was really risky. With security, maybe gang members are waiting in there, just different types of situations.
Okay.
But Orange County is a little different. It's a little more relaxed, more silent, a little more quiet. So we had our yards, but we used to try to explain to LA, hey, we're the same as you,
We're the same. We're doing the same thing.
doing the same thing, but just in a different city, about half an hour apart from each other.
Okay. But what do you think broke that barrier?
I think just consistency. The more that we participated in different events in LA, the more we got accepted.
Okay.
And then we started to hang around other writers that are from LA and they're like, hey, you're like us. So we broke that barrier. Just, being consistent and being present and just, putting our feet to the ground and saying, hey, we're artists just like you.
We belong here as much as you do.
Exactly. Even though that LA set the stepping stone for hip hop.
Yeah.
But we were, hey, we're the backbone here.
Gotcha. I want to get into picking the name. I feel like when you enter the graffiti culture, it's important to pick out a name that's unique and original. That way you have something that belongs to you and you don't gotta, go back and forth on who it belongs to. Your name's Celsius. Is that what you started with?
Celsius was given to me at a really early age.
Okay.
Back then, I kind of had an attitude. I didn't live the best lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I had a kind of a chip on my shoulder, I would say. So Wushu, the guy that was like the hip hop guru in Orange County, was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, bro, I got a great name for you. I think you should write Celsius." And I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "You know what it means. You're like cold hearted. You're like ice." He's like, "But check these letters out." And I was like, "Oh, this is really cool."
Yeah.
So he was the one that actually went around and gave names to artists of their personalities.
And he felt like you fit Celsius,
Yes, sir. So
and you ran with it.
I ran with it. For a minute, I was hesitant. I was like, "Oh, this guy's gonna give me a name like that's his name." But it grew on me.
Okay.
So I started sketching the letters. I was learning the format of the letters, trying to build the proportion of it. And one day, I did a nice wall piece, and I was like, "This name is badass." I was like, "I'm keeping with it."
Going into a piece as Celsius, right? In your mind, right, when you're putting a piece together and you're going into it, what is like a well put together piece for you?
Well put together piece. So I paint a little different than the normal graffiti writer. I paint the opposite way, which I like to lay out my 3Ds first. I like to lay my outline and then I start building each letter one by
Okay.
one. So once I build the letter, it's all within my energy of that day of what I feel like.
Okay.
So if you look at some of my styles, every one has its different unique look
Yeah.
to it. It might have the same like structure to it, but it definitely will have a different look and feel. So to me, it's all within the vibe that I have that day,
Yeah.
to produce the styles that I produce on the wall.
Okay. Um, do you keep your eye open to what's out there today?
Yes, most definitely. I like to do my research. I think that's important to know who's who. I see a lot of good writers these days. I see a lot of good color schemes that are getting pumped out, and that motivates me. That motivates me to make a plan of action before I go out painting that night
Yeah.
so I can set the bar as what these guys are doing as well.
Got you. Because man, there's so much stuff out there nowadays. I keep my eye open too, and I see some stuff, and I'm like, man, this guy's doing
Yes, I
it.
agree. And there's some of these guys are pumping out some really good colored techniques
Yeah.
that it wasn't there back in the old days.
In the early stages, I know hip hop was a very big influence for you. Did New York graffiti have any impact on you in your early beginnings?
Most definitely. I remember watching Star Wars and seeing Beach Street and just getting inspired by, their technique and their letter structures.
Yeah.
So definitely New York was a big impact my beginning days.
And your personal opinion, brother, for graffiti culture, right? Where do you see it 25 to 50 years from today?
I see it becoming more, I would say, branded.
Okay.
A lot of these crews, the bigger ones, are kind of branching out with building their brand, with selling merchandise, with having photo ops, having different can sponsors. But I definitely see it going in a more positive outlet, and as it's getting accepted more.
Okay.
But I definitely do see it becoming more of a, I would say, kind of mainstream in a way.
Gotcha. Anaheim, right? When someone hears this, what is something that the world should know about the Anaheim graffiti culture that they don't know yet?
Well, the one thing, it is underground because when people do think of Anaheim, they think of Disneyland, right? But my neighborhood where I grew up was around Beach Boulevard. Beach wasn't, it was kind of like a red light district. So to say what Anaheim graffiti is, I guess it's a more hidden gem,
Okay.
I would say. I mean, we do definitely keep it more on a low pro level, not too exposed out there.
What is some word of advice that you would give a youngster, sorry, out in Anaheim that's coming up today, maybe I don't know, 12, 13 years old, that wants to enter the graffiti culture and he's in Anaheim?
What I would say is first practice. Don't be going and jumping to the train yards trying to pump out a train, or going, or just go to a wall.
Okay.
Put down, draw your outline first, have your concept ready, go to the wall and just try to master it. Once
Okay.
you master it, then I think it would be okay to start train graffiti. But train graffiti is a whole different entity within the graffiti realm.
Is it is it kind of fair to say, kind of like in the shoe game, right? You got the Jordan heads, but then you would have like the Kobe Bryant shoot over here type guy. Is it kind of fair to make the similarity? Like you guys all live in the same culture, but it's a little different over here than over here.
Yeah, I would say that. But it's like any team, everyone
Yeah.
has a position. And even with the younger cats, you guys still have a position,
Okay.
but it's about knowing your history, going out there and doing it right so that you don't ruin your name, I would say.
Got you. I know you mentioned off camera that you're part of a crew. How important is it to you to belong to a brotherhood? I like to call it a brotherhood because me personally, if I'm down with a crew, they're family to me. You know what I mean? If they need me, I'm there. So how important is it to you to have a brotherhood like that?
I think it's very important. The one thing with AUB crew, it's very small, intimate crew. It's not a large crew. So everyone is a brother. And I think it's very important to have that connection with your crew members. So just in case anything happens, you know that they have your back and you could trust them
Yeah.
to be there for you if anything does pop off. And this can be from anything from you not having enough money or you needing help from having a flat tire
Yeah.
or anything in general in life.
Okay. AUB. What does that stand for?
Well, for that acronym, we have a bunch of meetings. One of them's like Anaheim Unibombers. The one I kind of like, well, I used to, well, yeah, I would say I like it. It's like the abusing ugly bitches, always around boundaries, all this bomb. There's a lot.
And is it fair to say that AUB is a Anaheim crew?
I would say it's an
Okay.
orange. It was originated in Fullerton, but we branched out and that's one of the main places is Anaheim.
What is something that makes AUB stand out from the rest?
I would say the uniqueness,
Okay.
especially coming from Orange County, and seeing writers come from that city and seeing the type of styles that they're coming out with. It's a lot different than LA, but it's similar within. But I definitely see, our AUB members, they definitely have all unique style. It's not the same repetition like how I see different crews.
Okay.
Some of them have the same style and I get confused of who's who.
Gotcha.
The good thing about AEB, they do their homework. They spend time drawing. They spend time trying to produce some outstanding work, which I'm very proud of AEB crew.
Okay. And being part of a crew, right, brother? Um, you know, and life happens, altercations happen. Somebody might be mad over you were wearing the wrong shoe or that's my hat or whatever, right? When it comes to another crew, how do you feel about the battering situation? Do you still put that emotion? Like if someone wants to speak up and be like, "Hey, man, I want to call you guys out on a friendly battle."
A lot of the crews that I do hang out with are brothers as well.
Yeah.
So I try to keep my circle very small.
Okay.
So I really don't go through different cadences like that. But definitely the crews that I do stick around, they're my friends as well and brothers. Because I'm not the guy just to explode myself and be like, oh, I want to hang out with every crew.
Okay.
So I like to keep more low pro scene
Yeah.
and keep the circle small. I think it's best.
Because it could get difficult, right? Because if you have a guy that's from this crew, right, and you're from this crew, but then both of you guys are from this crew, then you're kind of like in the middle of what direction to take.
Exactly. And sometimes they can have a conflict with this guy. But the thing with AUB, we try to keep it very small.
Okay.
Is what I said. And we accept, like I'm one of the main cats from the crew.
Okay.
So definitely we do evaluation of like, all right, you want to be from the crew? Okay. Do you have any beef? What crew you from? Who you connected with?
Yeah.
So we kind of do like a background questionnaire in a way, just so that we know if we bring this guy in the crew that we're not gonna be having, he's not carrying his beef onto us.
Yeah. You don't want to bring them on and then all West LA hates you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's a very valid point there because I feel the same way. Like you don't want to bring this guy on and next thing you know, hey man, screw these guys.
Yeah.
I could get like that.
Especially when you're pumping out quality work, you don't want to come back the next day and your stuff is slashed from this new crew member you got in that had beef with blah 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 that lives down the street from his blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know?
So I know you're heavy into painting freights, right?
Yes, sir.
Can we talk a little bit about how you enter that realm of freight painting?
Sure. So back then, drugs. I know I mentioned him a couple times.
Yeah.
He lived down the street, so he was one of the first people in the neighborhood to paint the trains.
Okay.
So then we had the homie Iser. He would kick it with drugs too, and so they started collaborating and coming back after their missions. Oh, check this out! I think I was around like 17 years old going, what? Trains? What's that all about?
Yeah.
So I actually got brought in from them and I learned that the train scene is a very small scene. It's very just an underground hidden scene,
Okay.
and if you paint trains, it's an inner circle.
Okay.
This ain't going out to the streets and painting. This is like you got to know the rules. You got to know where to go to get into the train yard. And you got to make sure when you do paint the trains, you got to do a specific way so that the workers don't know they're going
Definitely.
into their work, place.
I seen this on the internet before, brother, and I wanted to take your personal intake in it. I know there's some guys that feel like if you just paint trains, it's not the same as being out there bombing the freeways and hitting billboards and stuff like that. How do you feel about that?
It's true. It is different. Obviously, I think painting trains is a more older man sport,
Yeah.
and going to paint the heavens or freeways or the street is a more, I would say, athletic kind of sport
Yeah.
within graffiti because definitely when you're painting the streets and painting freeways, you got to be alert, ready, and you're just on the go. Painting trains, different scenery. You can bring a six pack, you can bring whatever you want. It's more chill, more
Yeah.
relaxed. You could pump out your work in 4 hours and bounce. Painting the walls or the streets or freeways is a different scenario.
You gotta always be watching your back. You never know what could happen.
Exactly. So, my older era, I did paint a lot of freeways, the 91, the 5, most of the freeways in Orange County. But the older I got, I was like, hey, I got to find a different outlet. It's a more calming, collective.
Because you can't be hopping the fence at 35 the same way you were when you were 16. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You might pull a cramp running around and.
Exactly. And I've been through that where I actually jumped the fence, fell off, feel like, oh, my leg, dang it, what am I doing out here?
Going into the freeway situation, can you get a little bit into that? Like how long were you taking part in that?
Sure. So when we were younger, they were building the overpasses on the 91 and the 5 freeway. So I had a buddy, he lived he lived literally in the back of that freeway on the 5, connected to the 91 near Magnolia.
Okay.
And we would literally go drink, party, and then let's go to the back, let's jump over the fence in the backyard and paint the freeway. So at that time, they were doing a lot of construction. They were building the overpasses. So we started to go hit the freeways around 9 o'clock. We
Yeah.
wouldn't be done till like 2 because a lot of it's walking, hiding, trying to find the spot. But we kept it consistent with continuing going out in the freeway as they were building those overpasses.
Oh, and you guys just going consistent being up there.
Yep. And then we started going through an altercation where we had other crews out painting the freeway, but then now they're side busting us because
Oh,
we're setting the bar by doing rollers and by doing the heavens and the
yeah.
overpasses. This is Orange County. I'm talking about small circle, not LA, LA,
Yeah.
whole bunch of people, but small circle. So people started side busting us. So then then a battle contained
Oh, so
couple
you
times.
took part in battles.
Yes, to a couple of them.
Can we talk a little bit about the battle situation?
Sure, if you wanna hear the history of that.
Sure.
So back then, we were painting the freeways, just doing our own thing, and we had a couple cats go and side bust us.
Yeah.
And we look, and it was an Orange County crew.
Okay.
And so we ended up meeting up with them at Coos Cafe back in the days in Santa Ana, going, "Hey, what's up? Why you guys side busting us?"
Yeah.
They didn't even know what that meant. They just wanted to jump on the dick ride us.
Yeah.
So we actually set up a battle, and we had Just 195. He was one of the judges, and a couple outsiders were judges as well.
Okay.
This is when NASA crew was really progressing their art, and this is when Just 195 he had his indoor swap meet. So he was one of the judges. We met up with that crew, and we actually set off a battle.
Okay.
And we set it off from the 5 to the 91 to the 57, and it was going to be a 1 week battle. Whoever can get the most letters, but it has to have a fill-in, outline, background, and inner details if you're going to lay that out.
Okay.
So we battled the crew, and we literally just wiped them out. We did. It took us a while, but we did. These guys tried to come with some tater tot baby letters,
Yeah.
but we wiped them out by doing rollers. We were just busting them. Boom. We had actually 2 guys that were taking us and dropping us off on these spots.
And what was the outcome? Was it like if you lose, you drop your name and crew type thing, or
That was what, yeah. So
okay,
whoever lost, they couldn't write the crew anymore.
okay,
So we won the battle. First, they were trying to say they did more letters than us, but their letters were tater tots. I'm talking about tiny.
yeah.
We're over here doing rollers. We're doing the heavens. We have like 6 AUBs on the top on Beach Boulevard off the 91, just like, frat. So these guys didn't want to give up their name. They didn't want to give up their crew. But eventually, we just kept going, moving forward. We kept painting more, doing our diligence. And after about, I would say, a year, they just disappeared.
Oh wow, they were gone after a year.
They were gone.
I thought you were gonna say like, "Oh, I just ran into him last week," and
No.
we laughed about it.
So they eventually just got, wiped out of the scene. And
And Anaheim, brother. Well, before we got all the now we got graffiti shops, right? Before all that in Anaheim, how would you go about accessing paint? Was it like a hardware store?
we would literally take the bus and go to Michael's and rack it. Or I knew somebody that worked at the Kmart,
Yeah,
and we would go to the Kmart and get the duffel bag, fill it up. And back then, we didn't have much cameras.
yeah,
There wasn't cameras yet. Well, they probably did, but you just see a silhouette running. You know what that is. But we would go and just rack the paint and just run out the back door.
it's not like today where if you were to do that, everybody pops up the phone and you'll
Yeah.
end up a meme on TikTok.
These days, everyone's a hero.
Like, put some dumb phrase on it when your girlfriend says, "Come home."
Put you as a meme.
Yeah. Man, how's those experiences, brother? Like going from that to now you just walk into the store or somebody like you that your talent got you sponsored.
Yes.
How is that feeling? Like, damn, I used to steal this.
I
And,
I
and now it's like it's given to me.
I know, and I feel bad for stealing the paint.
Yeah.
But back then we didn't have no money, but we
Yeah.
wanted to get up and we wanted to really like get out there and paint. But now I just feel very privileged.
Yeah.
I do. I have Loop Paint. They definitely support me. They definitely hook me up with my paint that I need to paint
Yeah.
with. So I'm very fortunate, very happy for them. But yes, I feel blessed. I really do, especially from the hard.
Do you ever sit back and be like, damn, I remember the stuff I had to have to go through to
I
get one of these
do.
guys?
I mean, we literally had to go to 2 stores, one to take the paint
Yeah.
and the other to get the tips. And the tips, we would have to go to the 99-cent store and
Yeah.
go take it off the glass cleaner to get a New York thin, you know?
When we started getting like the higher end brands, right? Like I think Belton might have been first. Correct me if I'm wrong. Belton and then Montana, like the higher ends.
Yes.
How was it like getting introduced to that coming from like a typical like Krylon type thing?
Yeah, I remember getting my hands on a Belton can going, wow, this paint is amazing.
Yeah.
Reading the label, reading where it came from. I sprayed it out. I felt like my whole style just evolved within that one spray with that
Yeah.
can. But when I did get my hands on that paint, I felt blessed. I literally did, because it was like impossible in a way to get that paint unless if you knew somebody.
I remember the first time I got one, bro. I had like 3 marbles in there. So the first time I shook it, I was like, "Oh damn!" And then I sprayed it. I was like, "Oh wow, this is something else."
Yeah, I remember we used to put the magnets in the back of the can because
Yeah.
it was so loud. 'Cause it had the 3 balls. Like, why is this can louder than the other can?
Yeah,
But yeah, the quality of it is just a lot different than using like Krylon back then, which we used,
yeah.
or Painter's Touch.
Okay.
But back then, I used to pump out burners for like $4. Those trains are still running today. But yeah, it's definitely evolved. The paint has evolved, and I'm so grateful to still be here today and working with this newer paint brand, Loop.
Have you had a chance to travel to paint like out of the United States?
I have not, but that's definitely a goal of mine that I'm going to start achieving here. I did recently pick up a passport, so hopefully soon. I got a couple buddies that live out in the third world country that are telling me to go
Yeah.
to check it out.
Like,
So-
hey, come visit me out here in Dubai or
yeah,
Japan.
yeah. Oh, come out here to the Philippines or come to Thailand. I got a buddy who was in Spain, and
I get messages like that. Like, bro, it's not that easy. Just go all the way to Spain or
Like-
Dubai and like just go hang out. You know what I mean?
yeah. I'm trying to make time. I got some buddies that live in Colombia that have been hitting me up.
Okay.
I just got reconnected with them, but yeah, that's my goal within the next 2 years. Start traveling a little more, go out to different cultures, see the tradition, come back with some new stuff. You
Have
know,
you had the chance to look into the graffiti culture in other parts of the world, like España, England, France, and stuff like that?
slightly, slightly. Some of their styles is not, I guess, attractive to me.
Okay,
I'm more of aggressive. I like the aggressive art, more LA kind of scripting styles.
got you.
But don't get me wrong, like European art is amazing. I look at the way that they structure the letters and the color schemes is just off the chain. But most definitely, they're doing their thing, and I'm very happy that they're, setting the bar too for hip hop and graffiti. But to be honest, I'm not really. I'm
Got you.
more inner LA central.
Getting back into freight training, brother. Is there obviously there's no rules in the culture, right? But is there kind of like some rules and freight painting that you kind of want to follow to keep away from conflict?
Um, yeah, sure. So the way we're seeing these trains, there's about 80% of the trains, I would say,
Yeah.
maybe 85. This is trash. It's garbage.
Okay.
These guys are going out there trying to paint the trains, dropping bomb letters, dropping half burners, small burners. But there's a certain way how to paint these trains, and the way we're painting is like from one side to the other side.
Yeah.
If you're not hitting both panels and getting it on that third tier of that ladder, the fourth tier, your stuff's gonna get wiped out. Not from me,
Okay.
but I've seen it happen. But that would be one way to actually, have some conflict of you going into a train yard, pumping out some low quality like bomb, and then bouncing and thinking you're a train
Yeah.
painter. That ain't gonna happen.
Because from my personal experiences, right? I could speak from my personal experiences. When it comes to that situation, I know there's things that guys do, like maybe leave their cans at the entrance. You know what I mean? And not picking up their cans or hitting up the entrance and making it obvious that something's going on in there.
Yeah,
Which are things that you really don't want to do because you want to keep the spot low key. That way, not many people know about it, especially the public or law enforcement.
exactly. We go through those cadences where we do get these outsiders coming from different cities. They're trying to go to our yards. And then when they go, they just totally disrespect. They leave the paint on the ground, they throw their tape on the ground, they see the gloves. The evidence is clear and
Yeah,
right there. Good thing about us, we don't gripe too much. We see it, we see their names. They're like, oh, come on, bro. We go around, we pick up,
yeah,
we go and we pick up the trash, we make sure it's clean. The worst thing ever is going to a yard and dropping all your shit and taking off. I mean,
yeah.
who
That's
taught you that? You do that to your house, you do it in your room? Like, that's not good.
Have you ever been put into a situation where you kind of like come up friendly, like, "Hey, bro, don't do that," and it's like, "Hey, man, you can't tell me what to do."
I have. I've been through situations where we had outsiders going into our own train yards that we earned and we,
Yeah,
locked down, and I had to be the jerk. And I'm not the one trying to be the jerk, but it's for a reason.
okay.
We kept these yards for years on a low pro basis, and you want to paint them, it's all invite.
Do
You
the
know,
workers ever mess with you? Like the workers working the trains, are they like hard headed people, or they kind of like, "Hey, do your thing, but hurry up because I gotta get out of here."
most of them are very humble.
Okay.
They know we're more mature artists.
Yeah.
So when they do drop the freight, they'll be like, there you go. There's your line. Or they'll move the trains if we can't, get a picture if we got done with the train.
Yeah.
But they're very respectful. They haven't gave us any trouble,
Okay.
and they're more helpful, I would say. But it's the way that you come at them,
Yeah.
obviously. If you come mature, good, attitude, they're gonna respect you and you're gonna respect them. So it becomes more of a bond. So then you see them again,
Because
you
if you
know,
come out dropping F bombs, like, "Hey, F this and F that,"
yeah, or
they're gonna be like,
coming.
"Well, F you, I'm gonna hit the radio." You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it can happen. I've seen it happen. I've seen the cops come up and roll people out, and I'm like, yeah, you should have left when they told you to leave.
But the consequences for getting paid and afraid are more severe than the street because now you're messing with government property.
Exactly. It's
So they're gonna
federal.
they're gonna hit you with a federal case if you get caught painting trains.
Yeah, they'll definitely try to make you an example. And it is a federal law, to
Yeah.
paint on their property. They'll send you to the video court that day. Literally.
You'll be right there catching cases that you don't even know what they're talking
You
about.
could step one foot into these yards too and get hemmed up real quick.
Oh, but how is the environment in there? Not to get too deep into it, but is it because I know when you enter a graffiti yard, it's a little bit spectacle because you don't know what to expect. You're kind of like, all right, I gotta keep my eye open.
Yeah.
Is it like that when you for the freight yard?
I would say it's a lot more relaxing.
Okay.
You're basically I've already know what to expect when I do go into the AEB train yards.
Okay. Okay.
Very quiet. When we do see little different things moved around or we see a spray tip, then we know, hey, somebody was here. Let's find out and let's get this resolved.
Okay.
But overall, I think it's more of a comfortable environment to be at.
Okay.
But some of the other yards, yes, you do got to look behind your back, got to meet and greet, just to see who's in your surroundings. And then once you feel comfortable, then you're all for it.
Gotcha. I know you brought some pictures and a banner today.
I did.
Can we get a little bit into this banner and then the images?
Sure. So this banner here, we had one of our crew members from Texas come down, Annie up.
Yeah.
So we all got together and just kind of did a collaboration together with the crew and
Is that a
pumped out
Goku ball right there?
yeah, we did a Dragon Ball Z.
Who's this guy right here?
So the right there, that's my homie Rez right there.
Okay.
One of the heavy hitters from the crew.
Is that like it's a cartoon, right?
It's the Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, okay, okay. He's
So
going through the letters.
it's a dragon whipping through the letters, and then we have the Pokeballs or the
The
yeah.
Goku ball. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, I did too. So we put 5 stars right there. Actually, 6 for the 6 crew members that painted this.
Oh,
in
that's
the end
dope.
here.
How long does something like this take you guys?
With 6 guys, it took us about 3.5 hours.
Not
Everyone
bad.
had their duties. Everyone, one guy did the fill-ins, one did background, one did the detail, one worked on the character.
I think that's dope, brother, that everybody could contribute and be a soldier. Because you got guys that want to call shots at all given time.
Yeah,
It's okay to be a soldier and do what you got to do.
exactly. For this one too, we kind of came up with the concept on the fly. So we didn't have like a reference. We just kind
Okay.
of said, "Hey, let's do Dragon Ball Z." So I think at the time, Rez's son was into that.
Oh,
So he
okay.
kind of had the concept that he brought it up. So we had Annie up rock the letters, and I told him, you know what, do this. You just handle the sketch, and we'll just start working behind you,
And start knocking it down.
start knocking it out. So yeah, we all collaborated on it, and we produced the Dragon Ball Z.
How about this guy right here? Is this an action shot of one of the freights?
That's a freight I recently painted
Okay.
at the local yard. I thought it was cool. I pulled my drone out, and actually it has Fullerton on the container, which that's one of our cities that we hang out at.
Downtown Fullerton is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I had some good times down there.
I've been down there. How about that guy? That image over there.
This one, recently in April, we had a friendly crew battle.
Okay.
I don't know if it would be I don't think it would be like a battle, but we set a rule that everybody needs to hit 5 AUBs before painting their name to set the year off right.
Okay.
So actually, this was like my 5th AUB that I painted, and so
I like
so
that hoodie. The AUBs.
thank you, my brother. So yeah, so while I was painting this, one of my buddies took the action shot, and this was like my 5th one. So this is about 2 months back.
Oh wow. How about these images? Can we get into your image book? You got a
Sure.
good amount on you today.
Oh yeah, I got some good archives here. So I have a lot of older freight that
Okay.
I've captured and some newer freight. But back in the old days, I painted with Sir a lot, Big Sir.
Okay.
I have some drug freight somewhere here, but I painted with Prop and this guy Merce back in the old days from D2R,
Okay.
not the CBS one, but I respect the one from CBS. He's amazing. But yeah, I had a little train yard out in San Bernardino, and they would literally just line up a lot of BNSFs. And this is in the early 2000 era when train riding wasn't even exposed yet. It was more of a hidden gem. And so Shucks, back then he wrote Dell, they would always come around and hang out, and we would all go together to the one train yard. It was like box stars would come down.
Okay.
And so me and Prop 215, we would literally just hold down these small yards in San Bernardino, and then we'll tell the homies from Orange County to come down and meet up.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Drugs would come down to bring his fleet, which
Yeah.
is Box Stars, Crew, and TVC. So at that time, I had a key to the gate to one of these yards at the Coolers Light Yard and Fontana. And so we would go in there and just open the gate, would have 2 lines. I'm talking about like
And go ham and have some
30 tr
fun.
yeah, 30 trains, and we just rack them up. We wouldn't leave a mess. We'd leave like no one's ever been there.
Yeah.
So we've had these yards for a couple years. So that's how I got really into the graffiti, painting the trains.
Oh, I like that cartoon with
This one right here,
the corner one with the hat.
this is, Prior.
Okay.
So back then we had some of the crew members I got from SKA, and yeah, I remember going to Pryor's pad, and when he lived in West Covina or somewhere near the 605. But yeah, I snapped the picture. This is like probably 2006, I would say.
I know drugs was a very big part of the Anaheim graffiti culture. May he rest in peace.
R.I.P. Drugs.
He's definitely missed. And is there something
Yeah.
that you could share about him to the world?
Sure, Drugs, he was definitely an influencer. He was really a sturdy man and very serious about painting the trains. His circle was very small. I remember at times he would be yelling at me, but then other times he would be happy that I was there hanging
Yeah.
out. Like I said, I was very young back then. These guys were older. Drugs was probably the first guy who had a car back then.
Okay.
And so he was the one like, I ain't taking you to my train yard. But the more I kept drinking with him and hanging out,
Yeah.
we ended up going.
Okay.
But I would say he was definitely an influencer in Orange County. He set the bar. He's one of the original writers that I looked up to today and when I was younger. And he's never going to be forgotten. He really isn't.
May he rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Is
He was
Coos Cafe something that you were there for the early stages, or you just came later on?
I was there at the early stages. We used to take the bus down to Coos Cafe, hang out all day. They would have hip hop shows. I remember seeing LMNO, Visionaries.
Okay.
I've seen some really cool artists there. Met Meek, met Posh. They were running the circle there.
Okay.
And I remember just participating or just going and going to BTP meetings and just hanging out in the background. And just seeing, just being amazed that I was around such amazing, talented artists.
Gotcha. I know you mentioned also multiple times that you rode the bus. Did you ever do any bus mobbing?
Well, up in Orange County, I don't think that was acceptable. But I would catch a scribe here and there, but it was more a conservative city.
Okay.
So we didn't waste our energy at all. I mean, who's gonna see it? Maybe your grandma or your little brother. It's not like the MTA or the Metro just floating around 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Orange County buses stopped at like 9 o'clock. So no, we didn't waste our time.
All righty. Got a question for you, brother, before we get out of here. You're called out to represent graffiti for Anaheim, right? Like, hey, I need you to go represent graffiti for Anaheim. Who you taking with you?
I'm gonna take my homie Rez.
Uh-huh.
I'll take Isrek. He's from Huntington Beach area. I would probably take just a couple other cats from the AEB crew
Okay.
that really set the bar with their styles.
Shout out AUB.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience before we get out of here, brother?
Yeah, just everybody keep up with the great art. I've been seeing a lot of beautiful art. A lot of people are active right now.
Yeah.
There's a couple crews I've been seeing that are just hitting it. Like MUL's rocking it, MFK, big props to UTI crew. I would say, CBS is getting back in the groove again. Those cats are amazing. I'm seeing even DWC, they're a local crew from Orange County.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've seen
they've been pushing it.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing a lot of amazing stuff. And now there's a lot of new crews. I can't keep track with everybody, but I'm just really happy to see the older crews still
Holding it down.
holding it down, dude. And I love it. I'm just like amazed.
Man, I feel the same way, bro. When I see somebody that's older and I see him out there, I'm like, damn, he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
Man, it's crazy, brother. What is next for you?
Just I'm just trying to progress my art to pump out some different styles and just kind of step it up a bit. That's my goal this year.
Okay.
Is just producing better art and just coming out with some stuff that everyone's gonna be like, wow, I love that color combination, or you did good on that panel. I love your S or E. So just working on my letters.
Again, brother, I want to thank you for blessing us with your very first interview. We highly appreciate it. Is there anybody out there you want to give a shout out to?
Sure, I'll give a shout out to the AUB crew, TVC, Box Stars, the homie Fakes. He's been putting it down out there in
Okay.
Reno. I would say even Kinos and Shucks, they're doing their thing. And a lot of the Box Star guys and HOF too. Those homies are doing great right now.
Okay.
I give a shout out to Alto as well, holding it down and being an inspirational guy to the train scene and all the other cats that I know. I probably missed some names, but they know who they are.
You're like, hey, you forgot me.
I'm gonna hear it later.
Make sure to check out gotnocontrol.com. Check out our merchandise. Make sure to like and subscribe. And we're out. Till next time. Peace.
Peace.